Hello, today we are going to learn from chapter 2.2 The House Builder of English Subject. This is a story of a mason who worked for a building contractor. The mason always strove to do his work to perfection. As soon as a house had been designed by the architect and details finalized by the engineer, the contractor would send for the mason and leave the responsibility of building the house to him. The mason would then, without wasting any time, start his work. He would take great interest in his work of building and do it with full dedication. He made sure that he used the best construction material of high quality. The measurements of the walls, doorways, arches, etc. were perfect, and he gave an excellent and appealing finish to whatever he built. The owners of the new houses built would be more than satisfied with the construction. Because of the zeal, diligence, loyalty, and persistence that he displayed in his work, the mason was in great demand and fetched good business to his contractor. Subsequently, the contractor recompensed the mason handsomely with a very good salary. He could meet the needs of his family sufficiently without any scarcity. The mason thus continued working with great devotion for many years till he became a grandfather. Then he decided that it was time to retire and spend time playing with his grandchildren. Being a firm minded person, he informed his contractor of his decision to retire from house building. The contractor was very disheartened to lose such an excellent workman and urged the mason to continue his job, but to no avail. The mason had made up his mind and refused to carry on. Finally, the contractor convinced the mason to build one last house on a beautiful and convenient site as a special favor. The mason agreed to do so with great reluctance, not too happily either. The construction started. It was a most beautifully designed house to be built at a sought after location. However, the mason could not put his mind and heart in his work. He did his work very roughly and carelessly, without interest or dedication. Even the building material used was of low quality, but he did not care. He simply wanted to complete the job in haste and finally retire. The house was ready earlier than expected. Very roughly made structures, weak walls, poor finish, and did not look as good at all as designed. Yet, the mason did not care. He informed the contractor that the house was ready and he was waiting to hand over its keys to him. The contractor arrived at the site. He had a file of legal documents in his hand. The mason handed over the new house's keys to him, but the contractor did not step forward to enter the house to see it. Instead, with a broad smile, he handed over the file along with the house keys to the mason and said, in beaming happy tone, "These are the ownership documents of this new house in your name. The house is yours. I had planned it as a gift for you." Over. So, to summarize the chapter in small, what we have learned from this chapter is that if a person is very dedicated to his work, he will complete the work in a good perfection. But if he is not dedicated, then the work will not be look good and thus would be a waste of his time and talent at that time. So, what we have seen in this chapter is there was a mason who worked for a building contractor. The mason was very dedicated to his work. He made sure that he used the best construction material of high quality. The measurements of the walls, doorways, arches, etc. were perfect, and he gave an excellent and appealing finish to the house. Even the house owners were more than satisfied with the construction. Since the mason was zeal, diligence, loyal, and very persistent in that he displayed in his work, the mason was in great demand. Even the contractor paid very handsomely to him with a good salary, so that the needs of his and his families were met sufficiently without any scarcity. The mason continued to work with the contractor for many years till he became a grandfather, and he decided that it was time to step down and retire so that he could spend the rest of his life with his grandchildren. Being a firm minded person, he informed the contractor of his decision to retire from the house building. The contractor, when he listened to this, was very disheartened, like he should be. But he tried to he tried to keep the mason still working, but since the mason was very firm minded, he did not. But finally the contractor succeeded in convincing the mason to build one last house, and that too on a beautiful and a sought after location as a special favor. The mason agreed, but was not very reluctant, as he was used to his work before this. So when the construction started, the mason did not care about the finish of the house, the quality of the material used. He simply did not care. The structures of the walls, weak walls, poor finish, and did not look as good at all as desired. Yet the mason did not care, since he was not interested and he was not dedicated to his work now. The house was ready earlier than expected, very roughly made. So after completing the construction, the mason contacted the contractor and told him that the house was completed and he was ready to hand over the keys to him. So when the contractor arrived, when the mason tried to give the keys to him, he did not step forward, and he gave a legal document to him and said that this is your house. He had planned it as a gift for him for his retirement. That's what we have seen from this chapter. Thank you.